Alright, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers 2007 movie Deluxe Class Barricade. Yeah, figured I'd start taking a look at some of my old 2007 movie figures. Like I've said before, I'm not really a huge fan of the Michael Bay movie aesthetic in general, but a lot of these guys were kind of my reintroduction to Transformers as a kid. So, yeah, they do kind of hold a special place in my heart, even if I'm not like really a huge fan of like their robot mode aesthetics. But yeah, Barricade here turns into a pretty accurate representation of his vehicle mode in the movie itself. Mine's a little bit scratched up. You can see the I've had this since I was a kid, so the police logo here is a little scratched up. He does have the nice to punish and enslave quote there that he had in the movie. Nice little Decepticon logo there. He's got the clear plastic for the headlights. It's a pretty good vehicle mode. In general, I feel like the toys for the 2007 movie line were a little bit more geared towards making like nice accurate vehicles than they were towards making as accurate robot modes, which obviously you got to pick one or the other with the Michael Bay aesthetics, because they're kind of just nonsensical, a bunch of knives planted on a dude that can't really transform how they do in the movie, where they just like explode kind of. But yeah, it's a pretty nice vehicle mode, and it rolls decently well. Also, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with a standard modern Deluxe with Kingdom Sideswipe. You can see, obviously, Deluxes have gotten smaller throughout the years, but they look fairly decent together. And here he is with the kind of generations-ified version of Barricade that we got in Earthrise, I think. It was part of the, like, one of the Amazon sublines. But yeah, that's what the two of them look like together. Kind of neat representation of him, kind of turning him into one of the Datsun molds, but that's more about him than it is about him. But yeah, in terms of transformation, he does also come with Frenzy, I guess I should mention. You kind of open his grill, and I don't know if this is intentional, but it does sort of like automatically like pop him out a little bit, which is kind of cool. You can just like pull out this whole section, and he's very simple. He just flips open like that. He's not really like in scale with how Frenzy was like in the movie towards the vehicle mode, because like he really was kind of like the size of a person, so he would really be more about like the height of the car or a little bit taller. But yeah, he's kind of an interesting figure. He's just really these 5 parts. He has the transformation joints, and then he also has movable arms here, which is kind of neat. It's a cool way of doing him. I feel like we haven't gotten a great representation of Frenzy in any of the toy lines, but he's kind of a difficult design to do, so it's kind of a neat feature. But yeah, you can store him there. He can stay there totally for transformation, or you can take him out, whichever works for you, really. But yeah, to start off with transformation, basically the first thing you want to do is you want to separate like this entire side panel from the side of the car. So you just kind of undo it from the back here, and from the front, this little hook kind of sits behind the bumper piece. So you have to fold that out, and then you can bring it out to the side on this joint here, and just do that on both sides. And then you can take this entire bottom section, and it will double hinge down. Now, this has always been really weird to me, because you'd sort of think that this just like goes and tabs up into it, but you can see it actually has these like weird sort of like angled tabs here. So what you're supposed to do is kind of sit that at an angle, and it doesn't really like hard tab into place. It kind of just rests there. Thankfully, the hinge joints are like tight enough that it doesn't really matter, but it is weird that by default you're supposed to make the waist sit like at a weird angle like this. I guess just because it makes him slightly taller than if this just like plugged in all the way. But still, that's always been kind of weird to me, and it never felt like quite right when transforming the figure. I was always like looking at this being like, am I doing that right? But yeah, that is how it's supposed to be. It's just a little bit strange. And then you can separate the back sections to be the legs, and they'll kind of like double hinge up on these little armatures here. And then you can take the feet, they'll fold back, and they'll kind of click into place around this section of the back here, just like that. And then you can kind of undo the ratchets for the double jointed knees there, so it can sit up like that. Then for the arms, they do that. Basically, you're just kind of like opening the hands a little bit. He's got kind of an awkward, clumsy arm here, where the whole thing is just kind of the side of the car. You can do whatever you want with these things. Like if you want, you can fold them around the ball joints so that at least the techie detailing is facing outward, but is a little bit annoying to do that. I think you're supposed to just leave them up like this, honestly, but yeah, there's not like a whole lot of transformation for the arms. They pretty much just stay these side panels of the car. And then you take the whole front hood section and then slide it open like this to its fullest extent so that you can take the whole back section, and you basically take these little like windows here and you hold them into place while you push this back. So you're kind of like folding these up and folding that down onto the back, and then you can kind of take the head and fold it up like that. It's kind of a loose joint. What I usually do is I'll like push these back into place because it makes his chest a little bit less ridiculously wide, and it helps kind of like hold the head in place. And then you can just adjust the back panels to your liking there. But yeah, there we have Barricade in his robot mode. And yeah, he's okay, I would say. He's not like, you know, the best looking robot. He's somewhat accurate to the design. Definitely a lot like wider and stouter than the movie design, but like the details are generally there. Like the overall shape and silhouette kind of gets the job done. But yeah, like I said, he is a little bit compressed. He does sort of feel like this should sit more like down here, and there should be some sort of like center section of the body to kind of extend him up like that. But as it is, it's like, you know, it's not perfect. But you know, he does actually have the front of the car become his chest, which is nice because like a lot of the later Barricade toys kind of, you know, didn't do that, so that they could have the more kind of like squished up and split up front of the car as his chest. I prefer just like leaving it kind of intact, and then also, you know, having it actually turn into that part of the vehicle for the transformation. But you know, like I said, it's just like one of the tricky things about Michael Bay movie designs. In terms of articulation, he's not amazing. There's really nothing at the head. I mean, you can kind of fold it back if you like extend these bits out again, but that's really about it. The shoulders are on ball joints here, which do have a tendency to pop off. And then when they rotate around, they're at this like weird sort of like angle because of how it attaches there. And then go about that far out to the side. He doesn't have any bicep rotation aside from just like the range on the ball joint there. He's got about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow there. His fingers can open about that far and then can close all the way, but then he's just got kind of, you know, the back end of the car as his hand there. He does have a gimmick. I always forget. Yeah, no, I think he just has it on the one side. He's got like this little switch right here that if you pull it or you push it, I don't actually remember how this works. I forgot about it until I was just looking at the figure right now. His arm is supposed to like extend. Yeah, it's supposed to like extend out like that. I think the mechanism's gotten a little old here, but it basically does that, which I don't know why. It's like an interesting little action feature, I guess, but it doesn't really add a whole lot to the figure. But it you know, it doesn't take away that much from him either, because I mean, it's not like this arm has like any more articulation or anything like that. Nothing at the waist other than like being able to fold up and down like that. Ball joints at the hips, and because he's got like the, you know, like the foldable stalks down there, you can kind of use that to like adjust where the hip is actually attached, which can be kind of useful. He's got a thigh swivel there. He's got two knees, obviously doing like the whole chicken-legged thing. He gets about, you know, that range on that knee and about that range on that knee. So like, I don't know what you're really doing with that. You're just kind of like slightly adjusting the angle of his legs there, but you know, I never quite know how to pose like chicken-legged figures anyway, like with bent knees. So it's a, you know, I would think that these sections would have to be a little bit longer for that to be actually useful. But if you want to just treat it as a single knee, like basically he has 90 degrees of bend there. And then he does have ball joints at the hips or at the feet here. But, you know, they are supposed to kind of stay clicked into place. So the ball joints are a little loose. So like you can bring it forward on that joint, but like it does not really hold any weight at all. They are supposed to kind of stay snapped into place here, which, you know, even in and of itself is not a super tight connection. But so, you know, as with a lot of the 2007 movie figures, not great articulation, but and you can do whatever you want with these things. It's less accurate to the movie, but I sort of like folding them down like this. I just feel like that looks a little bit cooler. But yeah, and then in terms of Frenzy, like I said, he really doesn't have anything other than just like the arms being able to fold out, and then the head can like adjust minorly. And I guess this is knee articulation, but it's not really useful since his legs can't even separate, and he doesn't have any like hip articulation. But yeah, that's what the the two of them look like together. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here they are again with Kingdom Sideswipes. You can see he's a pretty, he ends up being kind of an average size deluxe there. Obviously a little bit beefier than a modern deluxe, but they're not like hugely different in terms of height. And then here they are again with the sort of generations-ish version of Barricade, which is, obviously the aesthetic that I prefer, but, this one's obviously going for movie accuracy. But yeah, so, he's an okay figure. I think that there have been better Barricade toys since, but I have no real interest in getting any of them because, like, really the only reason that I like this toy at all is just, like, nostalgia from when I owned it as a kid. I don't really like the aesthetic of it. It's just, I don't know. It's just the Michael Bay aesthetic is just not really for me. If that's your thing, that's cool. But yeah, he's just always kind of a weird looking figure, and I think it's mostly due to just the aesthetic choices that the movie made. But yeah, he's okay. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers 2007 movie Deluxe Class Barricade.